Welcome back to the Commentary Box channel. My name's Arj. Hope you're all well. So I know we're already at the end of February, but I'm actually going to make 21 predictions for the rest of 2021. So sports have restarted and are to some extent in full flow. We've seen fans in some countries like Australia. These predictions will be in a random order, so there's a bit for everyone. All sports, both men's and women's. Before I kick off, I'd appreciate if you subscribe and let me know what your hot takes are for this year and any bold predictions you have down in the comments.
I don't know, Jeff, has it? I must have missed that.
So this morning I woke up to Naomi Osaka actually winning the Australian Open, and that is her fourth slam in the last 4 years. We haven't actually had an individual win 2 different slams in a calendar year since Angelique Kerber in 2016, and no one's won 3 in 1 year since Serena in 2015, and I reckon this year could be Naomi Osaka's year. What you could call a breakthrough year, because I reckon this year she's going to win, if not 2, at least 3 of the titles. So I reckon this is the start of her domination in women's tennis. In number 2, we're moving over to the Formula 1, and I do think it's a bit too easy for me to say Hamilton's going to win and Mercedes to win the Constructors' Championship. So what I have done is I've gone for McLaren to finish third behind the mighty Mercedes and Red Bull. I do think McLaren will finish above Ferrari, with Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo being their 2 drivers. I think they've got a promising future to come in the next 2-3 years. So, yeah, McLaren to beat Ferrari is my shout. At number 3, we have the Carabao Cup, which is actually being postponed this season for some reason. I'm not too sure why, but I do think that Man City are going to start their conquest for a quadruple by winning the Carabao Cup against Tottenham. And, I think it's pretty sort of settled now that City are going to win the league. So, they're just going to continue their domestic dominance, aren't they, really? And a couple of years ago, they did the domestic treble. I think they're going to push further forward from that and potentially get that quadruple. So at number 4, I'm going to make a prediction on the NBA, and it's not about the winner, because I think, Lakers are the obvious favourites, so it'd just be an easy pick for me to pick Lakers as the winners of the NBA this season. So I'm actually going for a bit of a strange one, but it's a surprise retirement. At the age of 30, the very famous Michael Jordan dropped out and retired from the NBA to have a stint in the minor league baseball. Only for him to come back a few years later into the NBA. So, as out there as it is, I predict that Kyrie Irving is actually going to take a temporary retirement, maybe for a year, 2 years, but, earlier on this year, Kyrie Irving actually decided not to tell his coach that he wasn't going to come to a game for the Nets against the Philadelphia 76ers. He went on to state that he had personal issues. I don't know much more about that story. He's actually currently making in excess of $30 million. And to be honest, he might decide to retire at the end of the season. Back in 2018, he did actually say that he'd hopefully retire by sort of his early to mid-30s. And, he'll be 29 at the end of this season. I think it's his time. Let me know in the comments what you think, because, I think this is a great story. And so my 5th prediction is actually what you could call inferior of the 2 European tournaments, and that is a Europa League winner. So Bayer Leverkusen and Arsenal have both been thriving in this competition all season pretty much, but now we see the likes of United, Man United that is, and Ajax enter the fray. coming through the Champions League, obviously, and this makes it a much closer and high-quality tournament for viewers as well. The Spanish sides have actually won 7 of the last 11 Europa Leagues. 3 of those going to English sides, but I'm going to go with the English sides because you have the likes of Arsenal, United, Tottenham and Leicester, who all have an equally good chance of winning this season. If I'm going to predict one, I'm going to go with Leicester. I think, they've been incredible this season in the Premier League, and this may be the season that they actually turn out in Europa League. Next, I'm moving on to the men's Grand Slam winners in tennis, and I reckon this is the end of the era of the Big Three. So the last time the Big Three did not win more than 2 slams was 2003. So these 3 guys have dominated tennis for the last 17, 18 years. However, I reckon that this is going to be the year where, you have the likes of Dominic Thiem and Tsitsipas and guys like that who are going to win tournaments. We have a great player in Djokovic still there, and after this prediction, he could go on to win all 4. He's obviously in the final of the Australian Open. I'm actually filming this just before the Australian Open final. But yeah, he could go on and win all 4 tournaments in one calendar year. I mean, the last time this happened was 1969. Rod Laver. Yeah, Djokovic is a joke, but who knows? Who knows? Number 7, we have the Euros, and obviously they were due to take place last season, but, they are now this season, and there's one big question on my mind. Will Ronaldo have an impact this year? Because obviously he went off injured in the final in the last Euros, so, I reckon he could do it again. Now, there is one massive team that are in their way, and I think France with Mbappe, Griezmann, Varane, Kante, Pogba, the list goes on. I think they're very likely to win back-to-back titles in major tournaments with the World Cup last time out and now the Euros. And I think this may be a bit of a period similar to the Spain period in 2008 and 2012. France are going to have that period of winning major international tournaments. An event that happens once every 4 years, which is the Paralympic Games. Of course, it's very heavily biased for China. I have no doubt they will win the medal table because they have done so in the last 4 Paralympic Games. However, that is not my prediction. And, there's a Belarusian swimmer in the name of Ihar Boki, who ended the Rio Olympics with 5 gold medals and 1 bronze. He's only 26, bear in mind. He was competing for Belarus in the London 2012 Olympic Games as well, where he won 4 gold medals. And so he's currently on 9 gold medals. In Tokyo this year, I can only see him match that, if not better it. Michael Phelps, Mr. Michael Phelps, watch out. This kid is only 26. He's got years to come. He's got world records and all sorts. So, towards the end of the year, we're going to see the 2020 World Cup in India. This is in cricket. Again, it's going to be a fascinating tournament. You have England, who are powerful with both sides, bat and ball. David Malan being the number 1 T20 batsman, along with the likes of Rashid with his leg spin. The firepower of Stokes, Butler, Bairstow and Morgan. The Curran brothers and Jofra Archer, who all actually play in the IPL, so they will have experience of playing in India. However, India, on their home track, Virat Kohli, KL Rahul, Rohit Sharma, Rishabh Pant, Jadeja, Bumrah and co. I just can't see anyone else but India winning this time. Now, as I mentioned about the Paralympics, I'm also looking forward to the Olympics this year. And, we can discuss whether it will happen or not, but assuming it does go on, it's obvious for the likes of the USA and China to finish in the top two. But, you know, there's a bit of flexibility with the remaining top five, right? And I'm actually going to go with Japan to finish third, because in London in 2012, they actually finished 11th. In Rio, they finished 6th. And I actually favour them to finish third, especially in their home country. So yeah, Japan in their home country to finish third. So the NFL season pretty much starts in the spring/summertime. We have the draft, don't we? And, you know, the draft always brings about the question of, shall I pick a quarterback at number one? Shall I pick the Heisman winner? Do I need a defensive lineman? Well, I think this year, the Clemson quarterback in Trevor Lawrence is actually going to go number one. You know, the Jags have the first pick and they were abysmal last year. They won 1 out of their 16 regular season games. And Trevor Lawrence would be a perfect fit for the Jags in Jacksonville. He threw for over 10,000 yards and 90 touchdowns in his 3 seasons at Clemson, ending up in 2 national championships in which he won one of them. Add him to the Jags receivers and Allen Robinson at running back. They could be dangerous. One prediction I'll definitely make is they'll be beating their last season performance with more than 1 win. Hey, they have to, don't they? And my 12th prediction is another Olympics one. We have a great heptathlete in Katharina Johnson-Thompson, and she's going to win the gold in this year's Olympics in the women's heptathlon. She won her first gold at the Athletics World Championships back in early 2019 in Doha, and she was injured earlier this year, but I don't think that will affect her too much. She's going to bring back that gold. So in number 13, we're actually moving over to golf, and every 2 years we have the Ryder Cup and Solheim Cup. Europe are actually the holders of both these tournaments. However, I'm going with USA to do a double on both. Taking the Ryder Cup, US have only had 1 win in the last 5. However, 7 of the current top 10 men's golfers in terms of rankings are American, and you know, they have the likes of Dustin Johnson, Justin Thomas, a number of other top golfers. Again, the US, I reckon, will dominate in the Solheim Cup. They have in the past dominated. However, Europe have done fairly well in the last 4 to 5 years. But again, I do expect the US to claim this title back. So, since failing to make Kenya's track team in 2012, a great guy in Eliud Kipchoge has actually won 11 of the 13 marathons he's competed in. He also ran the only sub-2 2-hour marathon. However, this wasn't in a world record eligible event. So I reckon at the age of 36, he does not show any signs of slowing down at all. And this is the year he will eventually break this record at an eligible event. The guy's a machine. He's great to watch. I mean, he's pretty much sprinting throughout the whole marathon. I mean, it's crazy. In number 15, my hot take in the NFL is actually with the Bills. And I think if they're able to get decent quality in 1 or 2 positions that they actually need, I think one being a second cornerback, the Bills are going to have another stunning season. And, you know, I'm making this prediction before I've seen the schedule and the difficulty of the schedule, and even before the draft. And I reckon Josh Allen is actually going to lead the Bills to a perfect home record. He was sensational this season, and I think he's going to do it again. And now in number 16, we're back to the golf with the Masters at Augusta. And I'm putting out a shout here. I mean, it's very likely that Dustin Johnson retains his title, but I'm going with Jon Rahm. He's a European guy, currently the world number 2. He's got a new deal with Callaway, which I don't know what that does because, I'm not that good at golf. But in August last year, he actually won the BMW Championship. He beat Dustin Johnson in a playoff to win the title. He actually made a ridiculous 66-foot putt to win that. I'm sure you all have seen the ridiculous trick shot that he made, a hole-in-one, skipping the ball over a lake. Is incredible. That is what he can do. But yeah, Jon Rahm to win the Masters and get a green jacket. In number 17, I think Messi is actually going to dominate the Copa America this year. Later on this summer, we're going to see the Copa America taking place in Argentina and Colombia. I know Brazil is strong, but I think this may be Messi's last hurrah in a tournament, in an international tournament, and especially as it's being hosted partially in Argentina, I think he's got this. Brazil are obviously going to look to retain their title, but I don't know, I just have a feeling that Messi's going to do something special. In number 18, we actually have the Rugby World Cup this year later on, and I mean, the New Zealand Kiwis are very, very strong, aren't they? They're playing in their own backyard, and, you know, I think that is the obvious answer, but I'm actually going to back the England women's team. It's an out there prediction, I know, but England are actually second in the international rankings, and they've got to the final in each of the last 5 tournaments, winning just one of those back in 2014. But I think England can go all the way here, so I'm backing England on this one. A little German central midfielder has actually surprised us all this season in the Premier League. His form throughout the season is quite incredible, and he's ended up scoring, currently he's on 11 or 12 goals, and if he continues this form, I could see him finishing as this season's PFA Player of the Season. You know, we have a guy from across the other side of Manchester in Bruno Fernandes, whose numbers are quite ridiculous. I think if Man U do end up managing to finish second, I can see him winning it. But, you know, there's a few questions from myself. They've still got to play the likes of Chelsea, Man City and Spurs away, along with games against the likes of West Ham, Liverpool, Aston Villa and Leicester. If Bruno manages to keep United at second, it's Bruno's PFA Player of the Season. But Gundogan's there if he continues his form. Moving on to my penultimate prediction, and I'm actually going to go for a boxing bout, which I think will end up happening at the end of this season. That is, of course, the huge fight between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. I think, I'm pretty certain that Joshua will get through his mandatory WBO bout against Alexander Usyk, and yeah, Tyson Fury is also very keen on fighting Anthony Joshua. There are question marks about the negotiations of the whole bout, and I don't think this will be too hard because it's going to be a huge money fight. The one thing I do hope for is to see that at the end of this season, and I do hope that there can be fans there because fans deserve to be there. I'm also hoping that it's going to be held in England and they don't take it to the US because that is where they'll earn more money maybe. But yeah, if that fight does go on, I'm backing Tyson Fury. I'm sorry, Anthony Joshua fans, but Tyson Fury, what a fighter. What a story. And finally, last but not least, I actually mentioned Man City in a previous prediction, saying that they could go on to win the quadruple. Now, of course, the quadruple does consist of the Champions League. And for me, it's between two teams, really, and two standout Champions League sides in Bayern Munich and Man City. Now, Pep is actually going to have to beat his former team to win the Champions League if they do want to win it, in my opinion. We have Flick at Bayern, the manager. He's doing an average job. I mean, being top of the league as they should be isn't a great achievement. They're not flying ahead. They're about 4 or 5 points currently. I'm actually still going to go with Bayern to win because I just think, they have game changers as a City, but Bayern Munich with the likes of Robert Lewandowski, they're very solid defensively. Thomas Muller always seems to turn up in the big games. So, yeah, Bayern to win in my final prediction. So, those were my top 21 predictions for 2021. Let me know what your thoughts are on some of those down in the comments. If you have any predictions, as I mentioned, just stick them down there. I will react. And yeah, I hope all my predictions come through. We shall see at the end of the year, I guess, won't we? Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.